Okay, we've all been there, right? It's late, the big exam is tomorrow, you've got a mountain of notes, and you have to make a choice. Do you chug another coffee and keep cramming, or do you just call it a night and get some sleep? It feels like a test of willpower, but it turns out it's actually a scientific question. And the answer is surprisingly clear.
In this question right here, it's not just something we ask ourselves in a panic. It is literally the title of a major research paper that gets right to the heart of this debate. For generations, the all-nighter has been this badge of honor, this necessary evil you had to endure to get a good grade. But what if that entire idea is just wrong? Completely backwards even. What if the sacrifice you think you're making is actually sabotaging your chances of success? Well, we're going to break down two incredible studies that look at this problem, from early childhood all the way to university. And what they found might just change the way you think about studying forever. All right, so to really get to the bottom of this, we can't just start in a college library at 2 a.m. Nope. The real story, the foundation for all this, actually begins much, much earlier. We're talking way back in elementary school. A huge German study looking at primary school kids found something that just blew me away. 66.4%, that's basically 2/3 of children, had sleep problems that their parents noticed. So this isn't some small niche thing, it's incredibly common. But believe it or not, that's not even the most interesting part. This is where you see this massive gap between what parents think is happening and what's actually happening. When the researchers also talked to the kids directly, the kids reported way more issues like taking forever to fall asleep and having nightmares, much more often than their parents had any idea. It turns out parents might not have the full story on what goes on after lights out.
Now, the researchers were looking at all kinds of sleep issues, from sleepwalking to restlessness. But when they laid that data over the kids' school performance, one specific problem had a shocking, direct link to poor grades. And it wasn't about how long the kids were sleeping, but the quality of that sleep.
And this chart just says it all. Look at this. As kids go from having nightmares rarely to having them often, the rate of poor academic performance just skyrockets. I mean, the connection is so clear, you can't miss it. The stats behind that chart are just wild. A child who has frequent nightmares is over 5 times more likely to perform poorly in math, and in spelling, it's over 7.5 times more likely. Now, the study can't say for sure that the nightmares cause the bad grades, but it paints a really strong picture that poor, disrupted sleep can seriously mess with a child's ability to lock in what they learn during the day. Okay, let's fast forward about a decade. We're in university now. The pressure's on, the stakes are way higher, and that temptation to just pull an all-nighter is everywhere. And a fantastic study on first-year students in Uruguay shows us exactly what this trade-off looks like. So on a normal night, these students were getting around 6.5 hours of sleep. But on the night before an exam, that number just drops off a cliff, down by more than 2 full hours. And get this, over 13% of students pulled a full all-nighter. 0 hours of sleep. Which leads us to the million-dollar question, right? Is all that pain and suffering worth it? Does losing all that sleep actually get you a better grade? Well, the researchers crunched the numbers, and the answer they found was completely unambiguous. So first, let's take a look at the student who pulled the all-nighter. They sacrificed all of their sleep, running on nothing but caffeine and whatever information they just crammed into their brain.
Their predicted score? 52.3%. A failing grade. All of that effort, all that sacrifice. And for what? It didn't even get them a passing grade. The trade-off was a complete bust.
Okay, now for the other student, the one who still studied, but then made sure to get a full 8 hours of solid rest. And their predicted score? 77.1%. That's a nearly 25-point difference. The data could not be any clearer. In those final hours, the best thing that student could have done for their grade wasn't opening the textbook again. It was going to bed. So when you put it all together, from the quality of sleep in childhood to the quantity of sleep during university exams, one powerful, consistent verdict comes through. Our whole cultural idea of pulling an all-nighter to succeed might just be totally flawed. The researchers from that university study really summed it up perfectly. They said that students cut back on their sleep with no benefits in their performance. Think about that. The very strategy they think is giving them an edge is actually doing nothing for them, or worse. So what's the bottom line here? The science, all the way from elementary school to college, is pointing in the exact same direction. Trading sleep for more study time is a bad deal.
It's counterproductive. It's during sleep that our brain does the hard work of memory consolidation. It takes what we learned and files it away properly. Sleep isn't something you do instead of learning, it's the final crucial step of learning.
And that kind of leaves us with one final big question. We spend 12 years teaching students math and history and science, but if something as basic as sleep has this big of an impact on academic success, maybe we should be teaching them how to do that too. What do you think?